Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. Following the success of my previous video about waking up and mobilizing the feet, I have for you a few more ideas how you can both strengthen and mobilize your ankles. And ankles again are quite important part of the body because you don't really need to worry too much about the safety of your knees so long as both your ankles and your hips are strong and mobile. And once you create really that chain of communication, starting from the feet, moving through the ankles and knees all the way to the hips, you know that you're going to move with ease and in a very harmonious way. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification button. The only prop that you might need for this practice is a yoga block, or if you don't have it, just any sort of firmer cushion or some sort of box or a hardcover book. And something to be on, like an exercise mat, a yoga mat, and that's it. So let's begin by walking on the spot. And let your feet land wherever they want to land, at whatever distance from one another, at whatever angle. Walk for a while, trying to look straight forward, and then eventually land. And as you're here, you can start shifting your body weight more towards the toes and more towards the heels. And perhaps you want to play with shifting that weight really quite a lot forward, almost as on those old clips of Michael Jackson. And then quite a lot backward. Don't be afraid to test it, because the worst that can happen is that you're gonna make a step backward if you're leaning back, or step forward if you're leaning forward. Okay, so once you tried it in this direction, you can also go all the way, rolling to the outer edge of one ankle, inner edge of the other one, and then in the opposite direction. You can even kind of work with your body positioning so that you can keep the balance for as long as possible. Okay, and back to the center. Great. And now we're going to add the circles with the ankles, but trying to load them a little bit as that happens. So if you shift the weight a couple of times from one foot to the other, you can land with the weight on one foot. Make sure that you're not locking that knee. It has to be bouncy and responsive. And then you can lift the heel of the other foot and start making circles around the circles with that ankle, keeping the toes on the ground. And you see, like if you have all that weight on that foot, you're working purely on mobility. This leg is completely light, but you can purposefully shift some weight onto that foot that you're working on now, and that suddenly becomes quite a lot of work for your ankle at the very time that you're moving it in all directions. So very different sensation. Try it out. And maybe just so that you have a comparison between the feet, let's stay with this one foot, whichever you started with. And you can bend your knees and have your hands over the knees on the sides. And then give some resistance with your leg, and maybe even with the weight of your hand, pushing down with the weight of your hand and the upper torso as you're trying to lift your heel up. So it's lifting the heel but against the resistance. And you could even try a similar thing as we did a moment ago, when you lift the heel and then you roll to the outer edge of the foot and only then land with the whole foot. And then again, roll out, come to the toes. Having that extra weight as you make this movement. Okay, and then come up. And maybe just lift the toes only in that one foot. Try to spread them wide apart, as now I'm spreading my fingers, and then lower them. Okay, and just give yourself a moment to feel the difference in the right foot, right ankle, and all the way up to the hip on one side and on the other side. Good. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So you can shift the weight from one foot to the other a couple of times. Now you're changing the standing leg. Remember that the standing leg is with a micro bend. It's still bouncy, responsive. Lift the heel. And first you can begin with pure mobility. So all the weight is still on the standing leg as you make the circles. And then add to that a little bit of weight as you draw those circles. And then you can have a feet maybe a little bit closer if that's more comfortable. Have your hands over the knees and keeping some weight on that hand. Lift the heel off the ground and then lower. And then again. And then the next time that the heel is up, try rolling to the outer edge of the foot and only then lower the heel. And then again lower to the, roll to the outer edge of the foot, come onto the toes, the heel up. And you decide how much of that pressure is okay for you. Maybe it's just a very light pressure. Maybe you want to challenge yourself a little bit. It all depends on what the body is telling you. What is the level of the sensations? Okay, come up. Lift the toes in that foot, spread the toes wide, and lower the toes. And again, stand to compare. And maybe just stand wider, with your feet a little bit wider. I really like to connect what we're doing, not just create an isolated movement, but create a movement that maybe starts with the feet and travels through the ankles, but then affects the whole body. So here you're going to draw that number 8, the horizontal number 8 on the floor. And you might notice that again, your ankles constantly are changing the angle, that your body weight shifts from the big toe to the little toe to the heel, and then big toe, little toe, heel in the other foot. And whatever happens with the ankles, it transfers, it affects your knees and your pelvis and the rest of the torso as well. Okay, great. Now you can go a little bit lower, shift the weight a couple of times, maybe a little bit lower, and again you can rest your hands just above the knees, and then notice how it would be to lift one heel here in this position. Okay, and then you can come back up, have your feet a little bit closer, and imagine as if something was pulling you by the top of the head up towards the ceiling, so that you're ending up on the balls of the feet. And imagine it was possible for your head to stay exactly in the same spot, hanging from the ceiling, and only your heels were dropping away as if there was some weight attached to them. Gradually, 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 until you land softly with the micro bend in the knees. Just stay with that sensation, with the awakened feet, ankles, and that whole chain moving up towards your pelvis. Lovely. So let's try something now in a different position. So let's sit on the heels. And now if this alone is actually feeling like quite a lot of sensation for the front of the ankles, what you might want to begin with is moving and shifting your body weight from all fours slowly towards your ankles and just checking where is that place where you want to stop for today. So you never want to inflict pain on yourself. So you want to be in a place where there is sensation, but it's definitely not that red light signal from your body telling you, what are you doing to me? So if sitting on the heels is okay, and it might be that, oh, maybe it's fine, but not with like entire weight of the pelvis and upper body resting just above them, but more kind of leaning forward so that it releases some of that weight. You can start shifting your pelvis from right to left so that you're rolling over your ankles. So I might be doing it completely upright. I might be doing it leaning. You will see what works better for you. There might be some clicks and sounds of the bone on the harder surface especially. And that's fine. And you can also try to tuck the toes under and see how that works for you. And again, you can stop at any stage of this. So you might want to stay here, or you might want to walk your hands a little bit closer towards your knees. Just check how it is to be in various positions. And for you, staying with the bum on the heels might be feeling like excruciating pain. And then obviously this is not where you want to be. If it feels just like a sort of pulling, tugging, some sensations of discomfort, then that's something that you can stay with. You want to get to the point where you are making your tissues more resilient. And for that, you need to stress them in a sense that you want to load them a little bit. Okay. You might also try how it would be if you have a toes tucked under, but the other way, so they're kind of curled under, so that it's the toenails that are touching the ground. It might feel like quite a different sensation. So a little bit more attention to the toes. I think it never harms. And that's usually much, much more intense. So I would advise you to go really slowly with this one. And then you can release it by hitting your feet against the mat for a moment, and then tuck the toes under again. And this time, lift your knees off the ground and just notice how is this movement going for you? What's going on in the ankles, but also in the wrist? Maybe there's some place where you start feeling the Achilles tendons, the back of the calf a little bit more. You could also have your knees much wider apart and a roll onto outer edge of one foot, and then return, and then roll to the outer edge of the other foot and return. And here again, you can check just how much of the support from your hands you need to do that. So again, we're not only working with the ankles, but everything works together here. All right. Perfect. And let's try one more thing here. So you can move your leg forward so that you are ending up in a lunge. And in this lunge, you can have your foot quite wide out so that you really have space for your fingertips to land so that you're not kind of struggling to reach down towards the floor. And if everybody's body proportions are different, like I have quite long arms, so it's very easy for me to reach to the ground. But if it happens that you actually need the ground to come closer towards you, take something that would bring that ground closer towards you. Okay, so that there is no discomfort in the upper torso. And here, we're gonna come back to that idea of circling the ankle. And it's almost as if you wanted to make an imprint of that foot into the ground. So you can start by lifting your ankle, and then you're rolling your body weight from the big toe through the balls of the feet all the way to the little toe, and then you roll onto outer edge of the foot, lift the front of the foot so that you're on the heel, and then you're rolling onto the inner edge of the foot. And then again, big toe to the little toe, to the outer edge, heel, and inner edge. And as you can notice and probably can guess, again, this is not an isolated movement, but what will happen is that this movement maybe starts from the feet and ankle, but then it travels and it makes your pelvis move in space quite a bit as well. So you have at least 3 in 1 with this movement. I really like it. Your leg rotates around its own axis, so it moves in your hip socket. Lots of things happening at the same time. Lovely. And then you can move your leg back, maybe even tuck the toes under and give it a tiny bit of a bounce here. And then lower that leg. And then try exactly the same on the other side. You move that leg forward and you give yourself space for it. So you really want to move it far out, and that allows your hips to drop. It gives them space. Again, if you need to be a little bit higher, you can support yourself on something. And the movement goes like this. Big toe, little toe, outer edge, heel, and then inner edge, big toe, little toe, outer edge, heel. So you don't want to miss any part of the foot outline. And you might be focusing your attention on what's going on with the foot or with the ankle. You might be observing how your knee circles together with the ankle, or how your pelvis moves in space, or even how that pelvis responds, how the spine responds to the movement of the pelvis. Right. And then you can move that leg back and give it a little bounce. Maybe one more time, sit on the heels. Notice how it feels. If you like this practice, don't forget to click the like and subscribe. And please share what you have felt, what you have experienced. If you have any questions, I'm also happy to answer them. And if you would like to learn more about how you can move with more ease, how you can let go of the tension that you don't need, head to my website, www.withmetta.eu. You will find information about my classes, programs, masterclasses there. Thank you very much and see you next time.